chicka, chicka. I don't know. It always feels like a choo-choo train to me. Like chicka, chicka, chicka. Get ready.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy.
Shimmy, 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 shimmy. All right. We are officially live. All right. So let me make sure that's muted. Perfect. All right. Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to Midweek Mindset. My name is Michelle Anantua, co-owner of Harmony's Divine Design, where I work alongside the amazing T Weaver. At Harmony's Divine Design, we work with new and seasoned entrepreneurs, helping you guys get out of that stuck place. So we do that by offering one-on-one business coaching, online classes, and products and services to help streamline your workflow. And of course, I got my amazing co-host right next to me, Miss Kimberly James.
Hey, thank you so much, Ms. Michelle. Hey, everybody. My name is Kimberly James. I am the owner and creative director of Josie May, and my clients pay me to bring their vision to life. I empower them through creativity, mindset transformation, and personal growth by offering digital and physical products that reflect our unique style, craft workshops to spark your creativity, 30-day challenges to expand your mind, and one-on-one coaching to help you achieve your goals. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. So, if this is your first time with us this month, we are talking about knowing your worth around unworthy people. And right before we got on the call, Linda took and set this fire. Fire reel that I think will definitely be a good preface for today's talking points. So I'm going to go ahead, share my screen, play the reel, and then we'll dive into our topic for today. So let me go ahead and do that. Can you guys see my screen okay?
It's coming through. Yeah.
Let me make sure I share my sound. So let me stop my share real quick because that didn't happen. All right, let me try it again. And share sound. Perfect.
So stop pretending you
Let me see if I could get it from the beginning.
didn't. And you're not the one who should feel bad here. You showed up with integrity. They showed up with intention. Now you move in purpose. And they can sit with their pattern. People will show up smiling in your face, pretending to love you while strategizing how to become you. They're not inspired, they're calculating. And that's why you should never fall for praise that comes with a pitch. Now make sure you distance yourself because somebody is studying you while pretending to celebrate you. You saw the signs. You felt the shift. And you knew something didn't feel right. You gave them grace, space. You gave them the benefit of the doubt because that's who you are. But now, give yourself permission to believe what you see the first time. Grace doesn't mean gullible. And discernment, it doesn't need confirmation. You saw the BS, so stop pretending you didn't. And you're not the one who should feel bad here. You showed up with integrity. They showed up with intention. Now you move in purpose. And they can sit with their pattern. People will show up smiling in your face, pretending to love you while strategizing how to become you. They're not inspired, they're calculating. And that's why you should never fall for praise that comes with a pitch. Now make sure you distance yourself because somebody is studying you while pretending to celebrate you.
So that was a powerhouse in itself. But it really goes into what we are going to be talking about today, and it's reframing our self-worth, right? So we are going to be talking from the perspective of seeking approval to really being validated and anchored in our own truth. All right. So let me go ahead and move this over here and we can get started. All the buttons. There we go. All right. So again, today our topic is reframing self-worth from approval seeking to anchored truth. Now, before we dive in, I wanted to share this powerful affirmation with you guys. My worth is not up for debate. It's my birthright. Your value, who you are, does not come with negotiations. It is who you are. You don't need a disclaimer. You don't need to have subtitles or a subtext. You are who you are. All right. So, what does it look like when we are constantly seeking validation? When we are craving connection? Because let's be honest, as people, we need connection. We need to feel that we belong via a community, a group of friends. We have that inside of us, that yearning inside of us to find quote unquote our people, right? Those like-minded individuals that we can thrive around. But along the line, as we're learning our journey, many times we start confusing acceptance with approval. We also start misconstruing the idea of connection with compliance. And we start believing these things have to be earned rather than inherently ours, right? So, one thing, how does this actually show up? So, the first is people pleasing. We're pleasing people out of fear, avoiding conflict at all costs. But really and truly, what is the cost that it is giving to you? By not addressing an issue, by not discussing a hard topic, by wanting to be everyone's friend, quote unquote, what are the sacrifices that you have made within yourself? Because in order to comply with someone else's standards, that means that we're leaving pieces of ourselves behind. We wind up shrinking ourselves, dimming our lights in ways that really and truly we don't even know we're doing in the moments that we're doing it. In the moments that we're doing it, we're just having a regular conversation. We're just enjoying the company. But really and truly, we're shrinking ourselves because we're not allowing our true, genuine voice to speak out. When our internal voice is louder than our external, that's how you know you're shrinking yourself. When the inside of you is screaming, yeah, no, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. Not get away, back up. But your physical is saying, yeah, sure. You shrunk yourself because you did not take on that voice. You did not honor that boundary within yourself of your internal voice knowing this is not something you want to do or this isn't where you want to be. But to comply, to keep that connection, you did it anyway. All right. The last we have, you change yourself to fit in rooms you've outgrown. How many times have we been in either jobs or environments where we know that our own personal growth journey no longer serves where we're at? And a lot of times we hold on to things out of necessity, not necessarily for the connection, but out of necessity. When you're doing that, you're not being true to your truest self. So you begin to shrink. To share a personal story with you guys, I was in a job, I was doing wonderful at this job, created my position, I mean, the whole bag. Management had changed, so the environment had changed. And when the environment had changed, we were shrinking to match this new management's quote unquote perception of who I am, what I'm supposed to be, what my job entailed. I became physically sick. My anxiety started going crazy, nerves in my stomach. I mean, the whole bit. The same place that I would love to get up in the morning to go to work, was now the place that I dread walking into the office because I knew it was always something. So as I began to dim my light, again, it started to take a physical toll on me. The lack of sleep, the restlessness, the constant things circulating in my mind over and over again. I wasn't showing up as my best self. So when it comes to approval, you don't need someone's approval to stand in your greatness. As it says here, approval feels like a win until it becomes a chain. And it's so true. When we thrive off of just people pleasing or, showing, look at what I can do for acceptance. And all we want is that. It does become a chain because, let's be honest, everyone is not going to approve of you. Everyone's not going to be accepting of you because they may not necessarily understand the gifts and the talents that you naturally have. All right. So, what does the cost of being validated look like? Well, for one, it's a version of an emotional addiction. Seeking approval, it's responsive like an addiction when you think about it. You get that high of feeling like, okay, I finally did it. I finally did it. And you might ride that wave for a while. But when it comes crashing down, you're right back at it again, trying to get that approval again without ever really checking in with you. So, what does it look like? Well, emotional burnout from seeking affirmation. This drains your own personal reserve of your emotions. You wind up leaving feeling exhausted or empty. And even after a while, some of those praises that you seek, they don't really hit the same way they did in the beginning anyway. Because now you've become accustomed to it. So that joy in the beginning has changed. Another is fear of rejection. So since you are scared of being told no, or you're nervous of being told no, of not, or being not interested, you amend your own mindset in your decision-making process. You stop pursuing what's for you. Stop speaking your truth. You stop taking risk because the idea of growth can be paralyzing. But that's not fair to yourself. In order for us to succeed, not just in business, but in our own personal life, each and every day, we grow. We are learning something new, whether we enjoy it or not, but we're always learning. And when you don't move out of fear, you are paralyzing that growth. All right. Next is you lose your authentic voice. You start sounding like everyone else around you, but you. You are unique in your own right. Your views, your gifts, your talents, your perspectives, those are yours. So why are we burying them to make other people comfortable? Why are we burying them to make the opinion of others our truth when we don't necessarily agree with it? So, red alert. When you live for applause, you die in silence between claps. And that is true. That is true. I can think of, case in point, a good example of this is Zooms. You know, many of us, when a Zoom gets too quiet, we get a little paranoid. Like, is anybody there? Are y'all really on the other side? And it's not the fact we're looking for the applause, more so the engagement. But that's a prime example of, the environment we're in. If we're in a Zoom and we're not necessarily interacting or engaging, are we really listening? Are we hearing? Are we present? Because I will tell you something. We have to learn how to become our own personal cheerleaders. We really do. I sit here and as a coach, I'll tell you guys, I'll be your coach or I could be your cheerleader. I could be both. I've done both. But even if I can cheer for you from the rafters until to a point where, I could get as loud as I possibly can. But if you're not cheering for yourself on the inside to push through, validating yourself that you got this, I'm just going to be screaming really loud. Okay. This is work that you do internally, knowing that you're worthy of the vision that you have for yourself and for your family. So, how exactly can we reframe our thinking? And what is self worth? Well, for one, as I said, self worth is inherent, meaning that the moment that you took your first breath on this earth, you were worthy of taking your first breath on this earth. It came with you. It's not something that you can buy at the store. It's not something that it was granted to you. This was an inherent tool that we came with complete and whole. All right. It's our foundation. It's not a reward. Being secure in yourself, knowing your worth, knowing your value, that's the core of who you are. That is what we are taught. When we learn how to use the potty, walk, tie our shoes, and even in a toddler stage, they know when to say no. They may say it at the wrong times, but they know when to say no. And I will sit here and say, I have learned so much from my youngest son, watching him go through those stages, being so self assured in himself already. So I know as obviously the world comes in, certain things are going to shift and they're going to change. But as long as you hold your value at your core, can't nobody shake that or take that from you. Okay. And lastly, it's an internal truth, not an external proof. Your self worth does not need validation from other people. It doesn't. Validation from others is a compliment, it's not a necessity. So Your opinion of yourself outrules those of anyone else. How do you see yourself? All right. And my little blurb down here at the bottom, self-worth is a well, not a faucet. It doesn't run dry because others aren't pouring in. We're the ones responsible. What are we pouring into ourselves? And when I say pouring in, what are we listening to? What are we reading or watching? How are we talking? Who are we talking to? Because if you sit here and tell me that you're listening to, you know, vulgar music all day long, aggressive music all day long, that's going to be your output. If you're looking at confrontational TV all day long or the drama in it, that's your input. So what do you think your output's going to feel like? We have to find a balance and be mindful of what we're pouring into ourselves. Because I can tell you, when you start raising the bar for what you do for yourself, people around you have no other choice but to follow suit. They really don't. Because the thing about it is, when you put up that wall of saying, hey, listen, I do not accept that, then you're not going to receive it. But you have to make that conscious decision and know the value that you hold, because you're priceless. All right, so identity root versus the image mask. These are two different approaches that you sense of yourself, right? So the image, that's what others say about you, right? That's the energy we use when we have to shift to meet others' expectations. So to take a really quick look at what that entails, changing your personality based on the room, needing constant reassurance and validation that you're doing the right thing, you're on the right track, feeling empty when alone or unnoticed, living in fear of being found out that you're amazing, found out that you're great. Well, if you're listening to this message right now, knock, knock, guess what? We already found it out. We already found it out. We already found out you're awesome. We already found out you have amazing gifts that you sitting in, they sitting in Midjourney or Chat GPT. We already found out you wrote that best-selling novel. We already found out that you sing like, oh my God, a golden bird. We found it out. Your secret's out. Okay. Another is being exhausted from maintaining multiple personas. That's what we call the switch up. You constantly switching up. You know, we hold different titles in our lives, but that does not mean we need a new character with every version. So case in point, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a cousin. At the end of the day, regardless of all those other titles, I'm still Michelle. Now, I might show myself to you a little differently because sometimes you can't show everybody everything, right? And that's just using discernment, like we heard the lady saying before. But that doesn't mean I'm completely changing who I am. It just means I'm changing the amount of access I'm allowing for you to have. Okay. So, what is identity rooted worth? That is when you are who you say you are. You're grounded and you're stable, excuse me, regardless of what's around you. You're consistent across all environments. So whether you are in a boardroom or whether you're in Home Depot, it doesn't matter. Your energy follows wherever you go. All right. You draw strength from internal knowing, meaning you know what you know. You draw your energy and your strength from your learned experiences, from the knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated. And you stand firm on it because those are your experiences, no one else's. All right. You're comfortable in solitude and silence. I don't know about anybody else, but I like a good quiet room. I'm just as comfortable when it's just peace. Do I have a million and one thoughts going on in my head? Most likely. But I find peace in that moment. All right. Next is being transparent and authentic in expression, meaning you are who you are. So if you see me on this Zoom, over on YouTube, and then you see me in another Zoom over on Facebook, I'm most likely going to shimmy in the beginning. I'm going to be giggling through. Sometimes I might get a little heavy and tell it a little harder at times, but it's all, regardless, every message is out of love. But oh yeah, that's Coach Michelle. That's how she moves. That's what she does. That's Coach Kim. She gonna make that face at you. But you also know her words are coming with love. All right. And lastly, we have energized by living in alignment. When you are being true to yourself, when you are accepting you, that gives you an energy that caffeine can't even give you, because it gives you that peace of not having to conform to someone else's standards, but your own. All right. So when it comes to these two different masks, I want you to identify, which one are you wearing? Which one are you going through your day-to-day with? All right. So this is a little bit of an interactive, sorry for the noise outside, but a little bit of an interactive prompt. You have a choice of answering one of the two. The first one is, where have I been outsourcing my value? I want you guys to take a minute, think about the areas of your life where you wait for others to tell you you're good enough, you're smart enough, you're worthy enough before you proceed with your next step. Does that happen in your career, your relationship, or something creative? The second one is, what am I afraid will happen if I stop performing for praise? Get curious about why you need other people's validation. What is that genuine feeling you're feeling under that? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go on mute for about a minute or two, give you guys a minute to think about it. Just a quick reminder, we are live on YouTube. So if you don't want to share anything out loud, because it may be personal, you can drop it in the chat. All right. So I'm going to leave these up. And like I said, I'm going to go on mute. So give it about a minute. Didn't mean for it to be so theatrical, but time's up. Time's up. So, would anyone like to share? And again, if you don't want to share because it's too personal, feel free to drop it in the chat. That's perfectly fine as well.
I'll share. I actually answered both, and they're kind of intertwined for me. When it comes to outsourcing value, um, I, I'm for me, I don't look for other people for validation. A harder critic on myself, but there is a level that you do care about what other people think because I have paralyzed perfectionism where I won't put things out until, I'll rework stuff a million and one times until I think that it's perfect. And then, I still second guess before I release it. So it's similar, but a little different. So I don't do it for the praise, but I kind of do it. You want to make sure that whatever you're putting out is good. So that isn't, so for me, it's kind of both of those. And when you talk about, perform for praise. I don't I don't do it for the gram or nothing like that. I do it for me. So, but that goes back to I do stop doing things because of that paralyzed perfectionism, where if I just kind of released it, I mean, I started my school in July. I ain't released it yet. Well, I'm releasing today, but saying that I started something and because I'm a little too concerned with making sure that everything is perfect as opposed to releasing it and then making changes as you go along. So that is something that I have. So I hope that answered your question, but that's how I took both of those for me. Yeah, because I don't do it for other people, but kind of sort of it is for other people.
Yeah,
Because otherwise I wouldn't pause so much. So
exactly. Exactly. It may show up in different ways,
mhm.
right? But the key focus of it is, like you said, is you still find yourself pausing.
Yeah.
And right now it's how can we work past those pauses, right? A lot of times, especially when we are natural helpers or guiders, we put everything first.
Mhm.
So I used to say I am a productive procrastinator. I'll get stuff produced, but it ain't necessarily going nowhere.
Won't be released. Released and producing are two different things.
Right. And that's because, again, like a helper, I have the issue of putting other things before what I need to do. And then I get to the point where I'm sitting back and I'm like, I mean, I did a lot of stuff, but I didn't do the stuff that I needed, right? So it shows up in different ways. Um, One person writes that they're a helper and pusher until it comes to them. They put their self at the bottom. So there's really not too much energy left over when it comes to their own personal needs. Also, being a perfectionist, wanting everything, every I dotted and T crossed. I get that. I totally understand that. I do. But it also comes a time where we have to start making that judgment call of putting ourselves first. And not even so much the judgment call of that, but where do we really truly want to spend our energy? What do we want to spend our energy focusing on? And then ask yourself when someone asks you to do something, it doesn't necessarily always have to benefit you, but what type of benefit would you get out of helping? If it's something that'll hinder you at that time, put it on a pause. Let them know, hey, listen, I can't do it right this minute. It's okay to say that. All right. So really and truly, with everything that you guys do, make sure you do a check-in with you. See where your scale's at, what you're looking at, how you're feeling, how you're flowing. All right. Would anybody else like to share? Good. All right. So here goes a few other practices that we can do to help us just return to our own truth, to our own center. The first is what you call mirror work. So taking that moment and looking at yourself in the mirror and speaking truth to yourself. Look at yourself in those eyes, those beautiful eyes that you have, and speak softness to yourself. So words of affirmations, make sure they're affirmations that you genuinely believe. Speak that love into yourself. All right. By doing these little practices, that's how we start changing up that dialogue, that internal critic that we have. All right. Next, we have journaling. So the prompt, I know I'm worthy because. Why are you worthy? Validate your reason. You provide yourself validation. I'm worthy because of this. I experienced this. I hold these qualities at heart. And because it's my birthright. All right. We're not looking for the temporary gratification. This is our truth and the essence of who we are. Next is a digital detox. So unfollow comparison triggers. Within this community, it's very easy for us to look at what everybody else is doing, and it actually triggers us because, hey, well, why am I not there yet? Why haven't I done that yet? And you start undermining and belittling yourself. If you have an account that you follow and it triggers you, unfollow that account. It's nothing personal, but your own development. It doesn't have to be because there was an issue. It's just literally you detoxing that trigger from your space. All right. Last, we have voice activation. Say what you feel. Start practicing your authentic thoughts. They don't have to always come out as crass and loud the first time. But really take a minute when you feel those things bottling up, when you feel it inside of you and you need to let it out. Sit there, think it out, and actually speak it out. Because a lot of times what we hold in could have been resolved with a simple conversation, whether it be with you and that person or literally you having a conversation with yourself, getting your ideas and your thoughts in order. All right. So you don't need to be louder. You just need to be honest. Be honest with how you feel and who you are. All right. That is how you know your worth, by being true to you. All right. So again, my worth is not up for debate. It's my birthright. It is within every bone in your body, every cell. It is who you are. All right. So, as I talked about the mirror the mirror activity, you guys can go ahead and screenshot it because it's the challenge for the week. But every morning when you get up, you have a date with yourself. All right. This is not a date to sit there and say, oh my gosh, this ain't where it's supposed to be. That looks there. No, 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 no. We're not going to stand there and judge ourselves or critique ourselves. All right. But we are going to declare and affirm the beauty over ourselves, the value that we hold. So every morning, I want you guys, when you are doing your routine, getting yourself together, know that you will recite this affirmation. So I am valuable. even when unseen. I am worthy, even when unpraised. Because you, again, are giving yourself that validation. And when you do this, I want you guys to take the time and notice, how you feel. Do you say it with a silly face? Do you say it looking away? Do you hear, the negative voice inside? How do you feel when you say this statement? Write it down. But every day, write down how you feel, because I guarantee you the way it felt on day 1, by the time day 7 comes around, it's going to be approached in a whole different way. All right. So that is the challenge that I have for you guys this week. And lastly, I have a visualization exercise. What time is it? But we are running a little tight on time, so I will send this out into the communities for you guys to do, and I'll even make a recording of it. But it'll definitely be something to help you with. All right. So my group reflection prompt for today, and my question for you guys is, how would your life change if you no longer needed approval to feel enough? All right. So that is my question. How would it feel? Let me go back. How would your life change if you no longer needed approval to feel enough? Anybody want to take that one on?
I'll take that on.
Okay, Miss Clarette.
Because that's where I am now. After I finished my program like about 2 years ago, going through past traumas and getting the information of how it felt, being relieved of all the negativity. It's like the things that I had always wanted to accomplish or was trying to do, it automatically happened. Like I'm 65 pounds lighter than I was. I feel good, about myself. The things that I used to be to crap or talk about myself or think about or worrying if somebody liked me or just have that performance ready, because I'm at that age where performance, I mean, I actually knew that there were some things that I had to act and be like when I was going for a job interview or something like that, but at the time I didn't realize it, but I do now. And I understand why my body was under such stress and strain, you know, but I mean, in a way, it was honest. I needed the job. I knew that there was vocabulary that I had to be aware of, how I approach people, how I talk to people, and, I had some people, later on, or, when I got into therapy and with those groups and talked about those kinds of things, because there weren't a lot of people of my skin color in therapy groups, mainly because of insurances, some of it out of fear, and so it was an awareness factor for them and for me. And some of the things that I had taken for granted or thought about people and their lifestyles and things like that. I mean, the bottom line was we all really were going through the same things. But, at the different times, I didn't understand that, you know. And I think about the most powerful part of that happened when we were leaving our grief and loss. And I had participated in this program um, after the divorce and everything. And we were all sitting in the room, and everybody were talking about their changes, the different attitudes that had happened, what they thought about when they came in the program, and what was happening now. And I just noticed there was just something going on in that room. There was just like a stillness, a wholeness. It was like the whole room was in one accord. And I've never forgotten that feeling. I have since felt that feeling, not necessarily in that environment. I have felt that feeling sometimes just sharing, talking to people. There's been a time when I felt that feeling in this group. I mean, I'm not saying it was necessarily a mindset situation, but you know what I mean? Just the wholeness. So I think I went into something different here than what I started out with, which is usual with me sometimes. But yeah, I know the difference. It has not been easy because people that you love, I used to say, they don't want to cross the bridge. And they have a right not to cross it. I used to think that in order for it to be okay for me to be on the other side of the bridge, I had to bring them with me. So I was like involved in trying to bring them and take me too. But then I just had to realize that I had to drop their hand, love them, and be on the other side, without malice. Sometimes early on, it would be with malice, about why they didn't want to come and something like that. And I see some of my friends today that we were in the same situations, and they are in the same situation. And they said, what happened? How did you do that? I said, I don't know, except somewhere along the line, I just wanted to say yes. I wanted to see what it was all about. And I wanted to feel different. I wanted to think different. I didn't want to be afraid every time there was a new situation or a new environment. And I didn't want to be afraid of the people, what they were going to say about me, what they thought about me, all those kinds of things. And some old habits die hard. It took me years to stop playing the lottery. The lottery was my refuge. It kept me going. I mean, I was just like I get into some search things and really dig deep in with AI and stuff like that. Hey, I did the same thing with the lottery. I mean, I knew numbers that fell. I knew circumstances when I won and all those other kind of different things. But the honesty of that was, it's not good, wasn't healthy, you know. And but it's a mountain to climb. I read this one book about hinds feet. And it takes hinds feet. It takes getting in those little crevices sometimes to pull yourself up. And sometimes you can get stuck in the crevices, but then I do know that there's support. I know when I get in a little ditch and I say, oh, okay, I call my counselor, or, talk about it, or pull out some of my scriptures that related and helped me through or realize different things about the traumas that I had went through.
That was good, Miss Claudette.
Y'all are good.
That was
Y'all bring it out. I mean,
because you stated something so important, that when you decided to make that change, how all the things that you told yourself would do, that you wanted to do, when you decided to make that shift, it opened up a gateway for those things to come through. And you hit it right. You hit the nail on the head with it, because we don't realize that we are our own biggest blockages from a lot of things. We can put it on other people all we want, but at the end of the day, it is what we are telling ourselves that is our truth versus what really genuinely is.
mm-hmm.
So when you use that discernment to say, hey, listen, I can't, especially like you said, I can't bring everybody with you. You can't bring everybody on your journey. Everybody's not supposed to be there on your journey. We meet friends and travelers along the way, spouses, significant others, etc. But at the end of the day, your journey is yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's your testimony and your moments. So I
I
think,
remember when I had decided to go into codependency therapy, and my mother and father, they were just devastated from the point that I know in a certain way as parents, it was okay with them because they supported me every step of the way. But I had two parents whose home life was impacted by alcoholism. So I also had the opportunity to see them just support me, understand me. I mean, my family unit never stepped away or got upset about what I was doing. Sometimes they didn't understand a lot of things, especially about the transparency, because, the rule was you do not talk about anything that's going on in the house. Oh, you discussed that? You discussed this? Yeah, because they were discussing that. And then sometimes my therapist used to tell me that sometimes I had to understand the role that God had for me with my family. She always told me, like, for me to imagine the gate and my family on the other side. And she said, God has you at the front of the gate. You are the gatekeeper for your family. And I see that. I see it in certain ways. I don't think that's anything that like puts a crown on my head, but I am so glad to see them, the little ones, change. During the holidays, we were talking about some things, and I shared with them the time that my girlfriend and I got caught for stealing. They said, Granny. I said, hey, I mean, wait till you get someplace. You never can tell. It was stupid. There was no need for it. And the fact was, I was with somebody. That's how I tell them, be careful who you with. I was there, and then I had to sit in that place and wait for my father and my uncle, to come downtown, you know. And then because of people knew them, they knew our family, all this other kind of stuff, you know what I mean? They were, there was no charges or anything, but that judge never saw me again. I can tell y'all that. The slick part of me, I can be slick.
So true. So true. All right, guys, since we are coming up to
Before
crunch
you
time.
leave,
Hmm?
before you leave, read what Sharice wrote.
Okay. All right. All right. So,
Mm,
mm,
yes.
it is so true.
Yes, it is.
So I'm just going to read an excerpt of it. So the question is, how would your life change if you no longer needed approval to feel enough? So it was stated that if they no longer needed approval to feel enough, their past, their grief, situations, circumstances would teach them to spend their days differently and not proving or living according to what others' opinions, lifelong opinions might be, but to focus more on truly living moment for moment and being present. Life is short, it's fleeting. And literally, we can't waste time explaining or defending ourselves to everyone. Instead, honor yourself more by choosing you, love, peace in your thoughts, and your truth over chasing others' opinions. So, very, very powerful. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that for sure. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick this over to Miss Kim. Kim. It is all yours, ma'am.
You just call me Kimmy.
I said Kimmy. Kim.
All right. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so, let me send the link first before I do that. Copy link.
An exclusive sneak peek. You got your school up on
Oh,
screen.
shoot.
It's out now. It's out of
It's
the
out now. Can't hide it now.
Yeah, no, as I try to.
You can't hide it now.
Wait a minute. What was I doing? Okay.
Journal.
Journal. Oh, this is what happens when you have too much stuff open. I can't even find. Okay, wait. Okay. Reframing. Got it. Okay. Share screen. All right. Can you see my screen? Okay, so the link is in the chat. The code is mindset. I'm not creative. It's the same every week. Okay, so this is week 2 of owning your worth around unworthy people. This week we are talking about reframing self-worth from external validation. Welcome letter. I release the people and patterns that drain me, and I welcome only those who honor my light. So day 1, approval detox. Day 2, day 2 should not be approval detox. I'm gonna have to fix that. Day 3 is internal mirror. Day 4, release the opinions. Day 5, rewrite the narrative. Day 6, Self-validation ritual, day 7, birthright worth. And your worth is not tied to anyone's opinion. It's your birthright. I have to say, we be in sync. We are in sync. A couple of journal pages and communities that I recommend. So you see this one? And then this one.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, yeah, look, check that one out on the left, ma'am.
Here, let's see. I don't even know where I put it. Hold on.
Look at you, just steady clicking.
All right. So this is my school, you guys. It is really about a safe place for women, and kind of unpacking some of the stuff that we deal with on a regular basis. Here's the welcome, and it's all about kind of transformations. So I start out with a vision board, because if you don't know what you're doing, who you're doing,
I just got
how you're doing it, you are not going to be able to figure out what's the next step. So the first step is figuring out what your vision is. The second step, I've got, of course, the replays from our mindset. And then power principles. These are principles that I live by. And I think it's really important for people to understand and have a set of principles. So it's the law of reciprocity, the RAS system, conscientiousness, 6 degrees of separation, the ripple effect. And I've got more that I'm going to talk about. I will have monthly sessions talking about each one of these. And once you go through the first 6, there's a GPT to check where you are, and it rates you and tells you what you need to fix. There will be a 7-day, 14-day goal so that it gives you step-by-steps on what you need to do in order to get your numbers up in those areas. So when I did it, mine is the 6 degrees of separation, because I'm a hermit. I love being in my corner. So I am working on getting out there a little bit more. And then affirmations. A lot of times you don't want to read affirmations, so I have video affirmations, and there will be more added in there. And then the vault, which is all of my journals and different things that I've created over the last year or two. That is my school.
You know, I gotta give you a little happy shimmy. Oh, happy shimmy on that one. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. But you know what? I'm just gonna end it on that, because that just tips the cake for everything. I'm so proud of you. I know your school is going to blossom and be amazing, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
You know, so as always, tap on me. Let me know what I can do. Let me know how All right, you guys. Well, I thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon, sharing your input, whether it be out loud. Oh, okay, we getting fancy with the hearts. I love it. Whether it was out loud or in the chat, your words were heard and honored and respected, and we're grateful for each and every moment of it. So yeah, I hope that this definitely added value to your day, to your mindset, help you start that positive dialogue, with yourself, knowing that you are worthy of every room that you enter, and do it a little unapologetically. Just saying. All right. Kim.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for spending a little time with us. We really appreciate it. I know Michelle has dropped some knowledge that will help you go through the next week. And just realizing whose you are. So often we forget and we look for validation from other people, but we don't need it, because if God has already given it to you, you just need to have a little faith and walk by faith and not by sight. And he will amaze you. Because all of our gifts and talents are given to us before we're even born. So, it's time to start walking in them, because at the end of the day, if we don't walk in our gifts and our talents, they will be buried. So walk by faith, not by sight. This is your birthright.
That's a
Hey.
whole t-shirt and a whole bar. I'm just saying. I had to, had to put that out there. But that is so true. I like that. Walk by faith, not by sight, on your birthright. That's a whole affirmation in itself. All right, you guys. Well, as y'all heard, the ding went off on my side. I thank you once more. You guys have an amazing rest of your day. And Mr. Stern, I'm gonna be FaceTiming you. I gotta get in the car. So, all right.